Aloha. My name is Paul Kuykendall, and I live on a small farm about a mile from PGV. I'm here today because I oppose Bill 115, not because wireless for the community center is not a good thing, but because the funds should be coming out of general county funds, not out of a geothermal fund. We, the people who live near the PGV geothermal plant, are concerned that we're being ignored once again. The county and the state of Hawaii have consistently disregarded the health and safety of residents that live near the plant. 30 years after approving an industrial geothermal plant in our residential neighborhood, this power plant still does not have monitoring for emissions that is effective. They are not notifying citizens when there is emergency, and the county has not developed an effective emergency response plan. There are asset or relocation monies available to provide these minimal protections. Instead, these funds are being used to provide general county services without regard to unmet basic mitigation needs that guard the welfare of the surrounding residents. In case some of you are not familiar with the hazard that we're talking about, wellhead KS8 chemistry analysis shows that H2S concentrations between 1,000 and 1,500 ppm range. Exposures of these concentrations exceed the instantaneous death threshold, and low-level exposures down to 1 part per million can cause a variety of health problems. This has been going on for 30 years. Before any more money is spent on general community needs such as wireless, roads, lighting, or security guards in Pahoa, which should be funded by county funds, the health and safety needs of residents in the vicinity of the geothermal plant need to be addressed. Mitigation from geothermal development should be the first priority for these funds, and community benefits that are not connected should not be funded out of those funds until that has been taken care of. Some basic mitigation needs that are essential to the people who live near the plant are: 1, source point monitoring and internet access so people will know real time what's happening; 2, automatic resident notification of any emergency; and 3, community emergency response plan. These measures should have been in place 30 years ago when the neighborhood was plagued by toxic emissions. They should have been in place when PGV came online, especially after the blowout in 1991. And the latest release in 2014, when Hurricane Iselle came across, prevented the escape from people from their homes, and my family was sickened by the release from PGV. We urge your kokua in correcting this long-standing disregard for citizens neighboring the geothermal development plant. We ask you not to spend any more of these funds until these basic things have been taken care of. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up with me. Thank you.
Next, I have Dave Kaiser.
Okay. You said my name is Dave Kaiser, and I stand in opposition to 115. I'd like to know how in the world, pardon me, I'm trying to restrain myself, that the Geothermal Asset Fund got merged in with Parks and Recreation. That verges somewhere from the ridiculous to the absurd, because this is to mitigate what Paul was mentioning earlier. And having been clobbered by that hydrogen sulfide cloud myself, my cat wasn't affected that badly. Fortunately, he was on top of the house, and that stuff hugs the ground. I was the one that got hit. I'm still suffering from lethargy. In case you don't know what that is, there are times, and before a cell, I could get up just like that. I was on deck, just like back when I was on the flight deck. Yeah, I was no carrier sailor. I survived 4 decks, and I'm damn sure not gonna let this stuff get me down, but it takes me sometimes upwards of 15, 20 minutes just to get up. And that's not like me at all. Well, I don't want that to happen to anybody else. I gotta be able to get the warning. I wasn't knocked down like a number of people were. I'll tell you, when you can't get up, that's almost as bad. I live downrange. It just followed the highway. That follows the path of least resistance. And when they have a release, it gets you. In fact, I have a neighbor who was given a clean bill of health from her doctor in 2013. And when that release happened, when the tree trimming incident, in fact, she was just by my house. She was practically, she couldn't breathe. So you got to understand the dangers of this stuff. You don't understand what hydrogen sulfide can do to you. There's not that high a concentration as compared with the oil and gas industry, because the guys that were at PGV when they went for their training, they got laughed at for the low concentration they get. But it'll still knock you down and can kill you. I just like the county. I'd expect the state. I know they don't give a rodent's rectum about us. That's been proven with Act 97 and the hourly time-weighted average. But I'd expect the county to be a little bit more concerned about the citizens here. Yeah, am I getting a little upset? Yeah, I am. But I think I better shut down. Aloha. Okay.
Aloha Council members, my name is Luana Jones, and I'm here representing the geothermal neighbors. This bill 115 came to my attention last week, less than a week ago. Last year, over a dozen geothermal neighbors submitted a letter to the mayor, and a few of us met with the mayor and civil defense about our concerns that funds are being used again for general public benefits without basic safeguards in place in the vicinity of the industry. In the letter, we requested the following basic needs. Paul already mentioned, but I'm going to repeat. The following basic needs that we have repeatedly asked for since before the permit was granted, almost 30 years now, to be put into place to mitigate potential power plant risks. These three requests were, are, and will continue to be: one, source point monitoring; two, automatic phone notification. They had it in California when we visited, I think 20-something years ago. And number three, an emergency response plan for the residents. These funds that the county receives were originally intended to mitigate the risk and impacts of the geothermal industry. That money and the continuing payments are more than adequate to implement and maintain the basic safeguards requested by the immediate community. To use the funds for unrelated public needs without these basic safeguards in place adds insult to injury to those impacted by the industry. Mayor Kim was supportive of our request, but said that the Department of Health is now the regulating agency since Act 97. He also said he would discuss it with the governor and has yet to inform us of the outcome, as he said he would. At the last PGV informational meeting in Pahoa in December, we learned that PGV is now installing new monitoring equipment. Their representative said they might be willing to provide notification to some residents in response to our request. So these things are not hard, they're not difficult to accomplish. Please help us get these measures in place before tapping more funds for unrelated public benefits. Until we secure the basic health and safety needs for the geothermal neighborhood, on behalf of the people and families near and around the power plant, we oppose Bill 115. Mahalo.
And last, I have Robert Patrici.
Aloha Council, my name is Robert Patrici. I'm representing Punapono Alliance today, and I have to tell you how very disappointed I am to have to be here again to explain this to the council again, echoing what Luana just said, in taking the funds from the geothermal accounts for purposes that should be funded by the general account without providing the things that those funds were created for. It's unbelievable to me that after we spoke with you about this the last time, that this is happening again. Yeah, I don't even know what the Geothermal Park and Recreation Fund is. Is that created, or is this bill creating it? I mean, I never heard of the Geothermal Park and Recreation Fund. Did that get snuck through and we didn't know, or is it trying to be done now? You know, Punapono Alliance has been working with the mayor and other people from the mainland, Bob Reynolds from Lake County, to get these basic protections and emergency response for the community. We saw during Hurricane Estelle, that over 100 people were injured again. This is unacceptable. You've known about this. Other councils have known about this. It's been going on for decades. It's basically throwing the community under the bus, and now you want to take the money instead of doing what should be done. And I told Eileen when we talked about this before that once those protections that are supposed to be there are in place, Punapono Alliance will not have a problem with the county taking those funds for community projects. But how can you live with yourselves, really, taking the money for projects like a $30,000 internet? If I read that correctly, who pays $30,000 for internet? It's not your money, I guarantee you. I mean, I got my internet for free, and I pay $40 a month right from a guy here in Pahoa. It seems ridiculous to me that it would cost $30,000, and those are supposed to be general funds anyway. You probably are familiar with Tom Travis. He was appointed to the state Civil Defense Agency after this missile thing. And so he was the one that had been working on putting together a monitoring and emergency response, working with Bob Reynolds from Lake County, that's who Luana went and visited. This stuff can be done. There's no reason why these things can't be done. I say, if you start taking this money, I will activate Punapono Alliance, and we will do actions, or we will come to the community meetings, and we will do whatever we have to put a light on this. That just how hard is it? How is it so difficult that you can't put basic source monitoring and emergency response in place after decades, but you can take money for roads, toilets, security guards, and $30,000 internet services? It's outrageous. Please, we oppose this bill. Thank you.